Try making too woke be a cancelable offense. It's important for America to have a center-left party, and for that party to be competitive. And a good first step toward that goal would be to make the voters not want to punch you in the face. The reason I'm so mad at the Democrats is because as a voter, the issues that were important to me were democracy and the environment. And now, there's no one to champion or defend either of them because you, with your aggressively anti-common sense agenda and shitty exclusionary attitude, blew it. You lost everything.
The woke left is still melting down. And honestly, the spectacle is wild. They can't accept the fact that Kamala Harris lost to Donald Trump, so the excuse machine is running at full throttle. But then Bill Maher, who openly calls himself a leftist, dropped a brutal reality check. And the panic that followed was next level. If you're into political commentary that cuts straight through the noise and rattles the woke crowd, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because this one's going to sting.
To the losers, look in the mirror. No? Well, maybe you should. Sorry. Well, that's my feeling. Losers look in the mirror, okay? You know, yeah. I mean, for months, Democrats have been saying, how is this even close? And they're right, it wasn't.
Rather than taking responsibility for their own failures, Democrats have been pointing fingers at everyone else for Harris's loss. Russia, the media, voters, you name it. Accountability? Not their style. So when Maher took the stage, they expected the usual blame game. Instead, he flipped the script, telling them to quit whining and start looking in the mirror. That alone had people squirming, but what came next was even harsher. His unfiltered takedown didn't just ruffle feathers, it torched the whole nest, sparking one of the biggest online meltdowns we've seen in a while.
Not conceive of a second Trump term, but they should have. When does America ever turn down seconds? I mean, come on. Look, this is just the facts. It's just the facts. Trump won all the swings, all 7. I mean, he ran the table. Trump won so big. Today he called the Secretary of State in Georgia and he asked him to lose him $11,000.
It's no surprise Bill Maher drives the far left crazy. After all, nothing stings more than being roasted by one of your own. They want him to stick to the late-night script, bash Trump, throw in some cheap shots, and recycle the same jokes you hear from Kimmel or Colbert. But Maher doesn't play that game. He's not a cheerleader, he's a critic. And when he turns that sharp edge on Democrats, the results aren't just uncomfortable, they're devastating. His no-holds-barred commentary leaves his own side scrambling for excuses.
But, you know, he has an amazing coalition. He kept the old crowd that likes him. He got a lot of new voters. He got a lot of people who say, they just want to see what he'll do. I call this the get the cat high vote.
Maher laid out the uncomfortable truth behind Trump's political comeback. He managed to keep his loyal base intact while steadily pulling in new voters. Meanwhile, the DNC failed to hold onto their own. By Biden's second year, nearly half of his original supporters had already abandoned ship. And it wasn't just everyday voters. High-profile figures like Joe Rogan and Elon Musk walked away too. Even RFK Jr. eventually split after becoming disillusioned with a far-left agenda. Maher's point was sharp and clear. Trump focused on retaining and growing his coalition, while Democrats pushed their own supporters away, watching their foundation crumble in real time.
Did better, like in every demographic. The exit poll said he grabbed 52% of white women. He also got their votes. Yeah. We're going to keep doing jokes here, okay? Right? Both sides, right to the end.
And the story doesn't stop there. Even after relentless attempts to bury Trump under scandal, he survived. They dragged women into courtrooms, turning legal battles into media circuses. Networks gave wall-to-wall coverage, broadcasting every smirk, every statement, trying desperately to make him untouchable. But when it was all said and done, Trump not only walked away vindicated by the courts, he also secured the backing of a majority of white women voters. The script they tried to write collapsed, and voters decided to pen their own ending.
The ability to speak truth to bullshit. The Democratic polling firm Blueprint told Democrats months ago that black voters, aka their supposedly liberal base, were more likely to find the president too liberal than too conservative. They also found that voters didn't just want Harris to distance herself from Biden, they wanted her to distance herself from what they believe the entire Democratic Party has become, a Portlandia sketch.
At the same time, Harris was losing traction with black voters, a group Democrats have long relied on.
Why?
Because the party had drifted so far into woke culture that it disconnected from its own base. Instead of focusing on bread and butter issues, jobs, safety, education, they doubled down on pandering to activist groups, often clashing with cultural values held in many black communities. Harris didn't listen or engage. She lectured. And that heavy-handed approach didn't just miss. It backfired. Enthusiasm dropped, frustration grew, and black voters sent a loud message. Their support couldn't be taken for granted anymore.
Kamala threw the environment under the bus to win the fracking vote in Pennsylvania and the automobile vote in Michigan, and then didn't win either. At the presidential debate, environment came up once, and Kamala used the opportunity to brag that we've increased domestic gas production to historic levels. And Trump, of course, called Mother Nature a childless cat lady. And now we're back to that, because the Democrat lost. So good luck to us and enjoy the impossible loss.
This is exactly why so many Americans respect Donald Trump. He doesn't hide behind polished sound bites or scripted talking points. Like him or not, you know where he stands. No fake promises. No sugarcoating. What you see is what you get. And in today's politics, where spin is the norm, that raw honesty is rare currency. Harris, on the other hand, was the opposite. From the start, her campaign was a mess of mixed messaging. She shifted her talking points depending on who was in the room and avoided clear stances on tough issues. Her speeches were full of buzzwords, but short on substance. People tuned in expecting clarity and left with nothing.
Be a cancelable offense. It's important for America to have a center-left party, and for that party to be competitive. And a good first step toward that goal would be to make the voters not want to punch you in the face.
Maher warned the Democrats, if they want any chance in future elections, they've got to break free from the chokehold of woke politics. Americans don't want ideological lectures. They want solutions. They're worried about inflation, safety, and stability, not Twitter debates and identity politics. But instead of listening, Democrats doubled down on virtue signaling and culture wars. And it's gotten so frustrating that many voters feel like lashing out in anger. If Democrats would just refocus on real-world concerns instead of performative politics, they might actually have a shot.
I will conclude by saying the reason I'm so mad at the Democrats is because as a voter, the issues that were important to me were democracy and the environment. And now, there's no one to champion or defend either of them because you, with your aggressively anti-common sense agenda and shitty exclusionary attitude, blew it. You lost everything. House, Senate, White House, Supreme Court, and left us completely unprotected and ready to be violated. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody!
But they didn't. While families struggled with rising costs and stagnant wages, Democrats chose to spotlight issues like gender-affirming care for minors and debates over who can compete in women's sports. Meanwhile, America's global standing slipped, rivals grew bolder, and allies grew uneasy. Instead of uniting Americans, the DNC leaned into divisive battles that split the nation even further. The result? A base that felt ignored and voters who started looking elsewhere for leadership.
Shocker that the people who see everything through the lens of race and sex see their election loss as a result of racism and sexism. Yes, if only we weren't so irredeemably unenlightened, we would have elected a black president by now. Oh, what, we did? Oh, right, and then re-elected him. Maybe you missed it because it wasn't on TikTok.
In the end, Trump's victory wasn't just about his own strengths. It was about the Democrats' self-inflicted wounds. Trump held his base, reached new voters, and projected authenticity. Harris failed to inspire, delivering vague platitudes instead of real answers. Instead of addressing everyday concerns like jobs and safety, Democrats obsessed over cultural flashpoints that fractured their coalition. They lost white women, bled support from black voters, and ignored the warning signs, even from their own voices like Bill Maher. The outcome was inevitable. If Democrats want to win again, they'll need to ditch the excuses and reconnect with the people they claim to represent.